Hello everyone and welcome to your West Ham transfer rumour show. I'm in a different location, so there's no pink book, I'm afraid. I know, it's pretty disappointing from the off. It's not going to get much better either with the rumours, but speaking of locations, you, however, you're in the right one. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we creep towards 15,000 subscribers. So if you're everything West Ham, you're in the right place. Now, starting with the name, Sebastian Haller is linked with a move away for approximately 25 million, likely be heading back to Frankfurt of all places. So basically, it looks like we paid 15 million to get him on loan for a season and a half. I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel like we haven't done right by Sebastian. I feel like we brought him in and not really played to his strengths at all. I don't think he's had a fair crack at the whip, to be honest with you. However, I don't think he's done enough either. So I think both the club, I say all three actually, the club, the management staff, Pellegrini and David Moyes, and then Sebastian Haller, I think all parties are to blame in this. It's just been a bit of a disappointment of a transfer and somewhat of a financial disaster. Am I happy to see him leave? Not particularly. I'd rather David Moyes got the best out of him. However, I don't think that's going to happen because it would have happened by now. He's had a run of games with Antonio being injured. He's had plenty of chances to sort of adapt to the way David Moyes wishes to play. Moyes has had plenty of opportunities to adapt to the way that Sebastian Haller needs to play. Neither are willing. Haller can't adapt and Moyes can't adapt. So therefore, I think the only solution is to get rid of him. The concern is his value's depreciated drastically since we purchased him. Just like Felipe Anderson's has. Issa Diop's now looks like his value's on the decline as well. So that's 3 of our 4 most valuable assets on paper a year ago. Values dropping, and that's not good for West Ham. Swings mind bits though, because Thomas Souček's now worth more than what we paid for him. Jared Bowen's probably worth a little bit more. Declan Rice's value's gone up than compared to what it was a year ago. So there's winners and losers in all of this. Josh King continues to be the #1 target for January. We've been told there's not much money. Don't get too excited, but the money that we do have may and probably will be for Josh King. Now that's who David Moyes wants. That's who David Moyes wants. My tune hasn't changed since the summer, and that is the manager should get the players he wishes. Because I do believe a manager should live and die by his own sword. You don't want to go into battle with another man's sword, do you? So he should get to pick the players, and if it's Josh King he wants, it should be Josh King he gets. And had he been given Josh King or a other striker of his choosing in the summer, we might have had better results recently while Antonio has been injured, or perhaps Antonio would have been rested. He was rushed back against was it Villa? Was it the Villa game? We rushed him back, I think it was, when he stood still for 45 minutes and took him off at half-time. That just delayed his return, put him out for longer. Had we had someone like Josh King rather than Sebastian Haller, we might not have rushed Antonio back then. So I think it's sort of fixing the summer transfer window gone wrong, if you like. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's an average Premier League player, and I am aware we're an average Premier League club, therefore it should be a good fit. But we're trying to do better than that. We're trying to go on to become a good Premier League club, and I don't think Josh King is a good Premier League player. I just think he's the wrong age for us. He's had his injury-wise, he's been alright. He's had a few injuries, but which player hasn't? But I just don't think he's that amazing. That's all. It's not one I'm going to get excited about. We've been linked with plenty of other players though. Sima of Slavia Prague, we're continuously linked with him, sort of the right winger come striker. It's a bit unadventurous, isn't it? Just continuously asking Thomas Souček if there's any decent players from his former club. We've been linked to their left back as well, who I've never heard of. I'm not going to speak about him saying I've never heard of Sima until we're linked with him. But the Slavia Prague chairman, he's quite open, actually. You can message him on Twitter. We did. We messaged him with the Hammers Chat account on Twitter and just said, here, what about this Sima guy? And he basically said, there's no chance, you're not getting him. West Ham, nice team, like West Ham fans, but you ain't getting Sima yet. So maybe there's more to come in that one. I just don't think it's a January transfer to keep your eyes out for. Other strikers that we've been looking at, however, are unlikely to pursue due to the Josh King love-in, as Milik of Napoli. I'd love him. I've always liked Milik. Prior to him going to Napoli, we were linked with him to him back then. I would have liked to have seen him come here. I do think it's a bit unrealistic, but I think he's a great striker. He's not world class, but I think he's in that bracket just below the world class strikers, what you would call elite. However, prior to signing him, I would have put Sebastian Haller in there as well. So what do I know? Diallo, Strasbourg, don't know who he is, never heard of him. And the French league is my weakest league out of the top 5 European ones, so I'll leave that to someone that does know. And then we've got Joao of Reading, who's been in good form, 11 and 16 goals in the Championship so far this season. But 27 years of age, it's sort of like... It's prime time, isn't it, a little bit? Is this the best that you're going to get out of him? Is he good enough for the Premier League? I've not watched enough of Reading to suggest. I've seen more of Adam Armstrong and the Brentford striker we'll get onto in a second. But as for Joao of Reading, don't know too much about him. And then you've got someone I know even less about, and again, never heard of him until this one, in Yarmouk of Ghent, who's 25 years old, but he's got 9 and 15 over in the Belgian league. But these are the kind of strikers that, although I've never heard of him, I like to see us scouting a little bit more, bringing in players like Thomas Soucek, because the ones in the Championship, while there are good players in there, obviously, they don't take much knowledge, do they? Anyone can just go onto the BBC website, click on top scorers in the Championship, and you've got a list of 5 or 10 players there that might catch your eye. It's not difficult. These ones, the ones that require a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of scouting, and a bit of punt. Perhaps it's a different kind of punt, isn't it? Because you're sort of banking on them coming in and settling as well as being good enough. Whereas the Championship ones, you know they're okay in England. It's just can they step up in terms of ability. So yeah, that's another player we're linked with. And then finally, a Toney of Brentford. We're just not going to get him. He's too expensive for us already. We should have got him prior to the move to Brentford, but he does need that stepping stone. He's got it. He's delivering the goods at Brentford. 16 goals already, 24 years of age. He'll be playing Premier League football next year, whether it's at Brentford or someone else. He will be in the Premier League. I just don't see it being West Ham, which is a shame, really. The guy's got a lot of ability, and he's still got a little bit of potential in him as well. I don't think he's quite playing at his best. Neil Mopai, Ollie Watkins, both are proof now that Brentford, A, know how to pick a striker, and B, when they're scoring goals for Brentford, when they're scoring goals for Brentford, they are good enough for the Premier League, and they will tend to continue scoring. Mopai and Watkins, neither have, ripped the league apart. They're not outstanding footballers, that, but they've held their own. They're both leading for Villa and Brighton, and I think Watkins, in particular, offers a lot more than his goal return. We've heard Dean Smith crediting him plenty there when they went down to 10 men and stuff, saying that only Ollie Watkins in the Premier League could do the job they needed to do down to 10 men. It's hard to disagree with that, really. There are a few departures, though. Today is the day now that we can negotiate with players in European leagues that are out of contract in the summer. Likewise, European leagues can now negotiate with our players whose contracts expire in the summer. So Balbuena, Fabianski, Martin Noble are 3 of those. However, they're all expected to be given new deals in the coming weeks. But Robert Snodgrass is also another one. However, it's looking like he could be let go at the end of the season by West Ham. And I have to say, as nice a bloke as he comes across, and he comes across as a big character, I think it's the right decision. 33 years of age, I think I've never been his biggest fan. However, I always thought his stats were boosted by taking set pieces, and he was damn good at taking set pieces as well. But I think in terms of moving forward, I think that's the right thing. I think Balbuena and Fabianski are no-brainers. The Mark Noble one's a bit of a... It's a difficult decision, isn't it? I would like to see him get a 1-year deal. And if anything, maybe it is a pure loyalty thing rather than an ability thing. And that's perhaps wrong. But I think in football sometimes, I think when we complain about lack of loyalty, it works both ways, really. And I think sometimes we, as a football club, disregard loyalty until it hits us in the face, and all of a sudden a player is willing to leave, or like Arnautovic or Payet, and we get a hump about it. But actually, when it comes to players like Martin Noble, I think this is where you've just got to show a little bit of something, because the last thing I'd want is this guy or any other player that's been at a club for more than a decade but leave that club to an empty stadium. It's heartbreaking to think about it, that Martin Noble's final game for West Ham would be played in front of no fans, and his send-off was whatever the game was before the lockdown. I don't think it was Brighton. Southampton? I think we beat Southampton just before lockdown. It's not good, is it? Winston Reid, though, he's another one. He's currently got a contract, but the rumours are that we are going to try and agree some sort of mutual consent with him. He's going to come back in January. His loan with the MLS club is up. He's coming back, and that we're going to basically shake hands with him, and we should pay him a bit of money to depart the club. And that's a bit of a shame, because he's been here 10 years now as well, and his sort of testimonial time. He's one of my favourite all-time West Ham players, I think, that I've seen live, and does he have the ability anymore? I don't know. I don't know how he's got on in America. I know in the MLS he's played to a good standard for the MLS, but is that good enough for the Premier League? I'm not so sure really, but it's difficult, is it? Because that one really is, I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's just, you thank him for his service, and it'd be a sad day to see Winston Reid go, and it'd be a shame if we can't say goodbye to him as well. I could understand that one a bit more than Mark Nobles, because he's not really played for West Ham for quite a few years now with his injuries and stuff. Fantastic servant though, but we'll wait and see. But it'd just be a bit of a shame. I hope that if he is still here for a little bit longer, he does almost leave him until the summer. I would like to see Winston Reid remain for the rest of the season. And then he departs at the end, but hopefully by then we're able to have some form of crowd come back for some sort of testimonial for him. And then that leaves David Martin. He's also expected not to begin a new deal at the end of the season, which would come as no surprise really. I think I'd be more surprised if we were even thinking about giving him a new contract. He's been on the bench once, and that's because we had no players. And there was another goalie on the bench anyway, so he wasn't even going to get on if Fabianski got injured. But anyway, that's it. That's the transfer rumours. That is it. The transfer window obviously opens in a couple of days' time. We have no money, apparently, or very little money to spend, which would be disappointing. I think it's important that the club back David Moyes, because I don't think they did it sufficiently in the summer. We've seen that now. Masuaku's injured, Antonio's injured, the whole game plan crumples. That is on the manager a little bit. We'll come up with a second game plan that works when those are injured, but that's also on David Sullivan. Say, well, how about you get players in so he doesn't have to do that? You don't see Liverpool changing formations. You don't see Southampton having to change formation at injuries because they've got enough in depth. They've got the right players in the right place, and that's something we're lacking somewhat a little bit. So it's an important window for West Ham, but with the results that have gone the way they have, and we're looking at sort of a mid-table finish, which is fine. It's a good finish. I would have taken that at the start of the season. It doesn't necessarily make sense to spend a lot of money, because if you spend 10 million, in theory, you need to gain 5 places to make that back in prize money. I know it's not as simple as that, but this is David Sullivan we're talking about, and I just can't see us spending much, to be honest with you. We might have a few £1 million for a deal there, like Josh King, or trying to get someone in on loan, but unless Sebastian Haller moves for big money, I can't see us splashing cash. Anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe new around here. We've got the pay-per-view coming up tomorrow at some point. Myself and Gonzo will be looking ahead to the Everton game, should it not be postponed. And I'm also going to wait to record a video, probably tomorrow morning, about Declan Rice, actually, not about him leaving, about him at West Ham, because I think we need to talk about his position, to be honest with you. I'll see you in a bit.